Good morning. It's bright and early here at Smithsdale Farm and I'm just taking Paco out for a quick walk. For anyone who's new to our channel, we're here in the mountains building our dream life, but that comes with a few challenges. We live in Barcelona in the city, and that means that we come down to the mountains at the weekend in order to build this dream. So when we arrive, we have a few chores to get done before we can actually get on with work. This includes things like cleaning up the barn and putting out the tent, having some dinner before going to bed. So even yesterday when we arrived a little bit earlier, it was still nearly midnight by the time we went to bed. So this is one of the reasons that we're putting so much time and energy into building the cabin. We've had a few questions around, why don't we just get on with the house? Why are we bothering to build this little cabin? And the whole reason is that we want to be able to spend more time here, and we want to be able to spend that time here more comfortably and more productively. So we're building the cabin. That's going to be our place to live whilst we renovate the house. So we're going to crack on with that nice and early this morning because that 36 degrees is on its way very, very fast. So before that, I better get on with a quick walk with Paco and then we can get stuck into it.
We're Danny and Kate, and this is Paco. We recently bought 12 acres of land in the Spanish mountains. Follow the journey as two DIY novices with tons of enthusiasm but not quite as much know-how. Renovate a small stone barn into the tiny house of our dreams and bring the land back into full production. But first, before we rip the roof off our brand new home, we need somewhere to stay. Welcome to the Cabin Build series.
Okay, so we've just arrived over the cabin and basically it's going to get to 36 degrees today, I think. So the plan is to get cracking this morning and then we'll stop about 11, 12 o'clock or when it gets too hot. We have some things to do down in town and then we can take a nap and then we can get cracking again about 6 o'clock.
Well, that was a lot easier than doing it with a handsaw.
Yeah, a lot less sweaty as well.
Last week we were cutting all these pieces by hand because we forgot to bring the jigsaw with us. Lesson learned, we brought it this week and that was a hell of a lot faster.
Bring everything. Bring everything.
Can I have some more baby screws? Let's get some heat.
So Paco, how's the build going today? Lots of progress? Yeah?
So I've just finished putting the last batten on, and now the challenge is to figure out how to get those big metal panels up onto this 3-metre high roof. Any suggestions?
We've just finished first morning and then we've just had a little workout of how we're going to lift the corrugated steel up onto the roof. I think we're going to do some pre-drills and some holes and a piece of string over the top and try and lift it up that way, and then one of us push, one of us pull, see how that goes. Maybe we have a change of plan once we've started doing it and there's something easier.
We have a question for you because we have two kind of things playing on our mind for the roof. Needless to say, it's not going to stay as a big steel roof. So we have two options. One is to put the solar panels on top, which is what we had originally designed, and this is why it's angled towards the sun, and we can kind of put them on that slope there and they'd be able to get a decent amount of light all year round. But we've had another idea and we wanted to get your thoughts. So let us know in the comments down below whether you're option A or option B. Option B is for us to make it a living green roof. When we talk about a green roof, what we mean is planting things like succulents that can actually thrive in a situation where there isn't much dirt or much water. The idea is that then it would blend much better into the landscape. It's not going to be so kind of box on the mountain. It's going to be a little bit more discreet. It's going to look a bit more natural. One of the ideas of cladding it in cork is to help do this too. And so having a green living roof would be really beneficial because it means that we can collect the rainwater. It would kind of sieve through a rock system and then we could collect that water in an IBC. And also we could use that as a way to kind of blend into the natural environment a little bit more. So let us know what you think. Option A is to put the solar panels on. Option B is for the green roof. Let us know in the comments down below. It's hit the hottest part of the day, so we've come down into town to try and get a few of the things that we need to pick up from the like DIY stores. There's a piece of wood that we actually want to get cut so that it's easier to fit into the car, but the little kind of section of the shop that does the cutting for you isn't open for another hour. So we've just come into the main part of Tortosa where we're going to kind of stop and have a little bit of lunch and just have a little bit of a break in the shade. And we also get to take Paco for a run, which is always very much needed. And you may have just heard in the background there some fireworks. I think there's some kind of festival or something this weekend. I'm going to try and find out what. So yeah, we keep hearing them in the background. Having some flashbacks to our first ever trip in the car where we brought Paco down and I was in the back with him, but this time we're in the back for a different reason, and that's because the part of the shop that was supposed to cut our wood said that they wouldn't do it because they were like long thin pieces of wood rather than like flat pieces of wood. So there we go, I'm in the back because we've got 2.4 meters of wood going all the way through the car.
We've got all the battens on now with the vapor barrier. But we did knock one of the battens and it broke. It was on a knot in the wood, so we think it was weak generally, but it's not given us great confidence in terms of getting on the roof to be able to put the screws in and the corrugated metal sheeting. So we've gone and bought some wood that should be able to fit between these I-beams, and we're going to screw those in just as a bit more support, so when we're on the roof we don't feel like we're only being held by some small thin battens. So we're going to get those up this evening, and then hopefully we can get started on the first sheet tonight. If not, that'll be tomorrow morning. There you go. Just pull it around.
I like to think that I can do a lot of things on this project, but for some reason I just can't put these pieces of wood in, and it's really annoying me. Take 4. No puedo. I swear you're cutting these to the wrong size on purpose. There's a screw right there. Honestly, you make that look so easy.
That one was easy.
It's just gone 9 p.m. and with that bit all done, we're going to try and prepare some of the steel that's going to go onto the roof tomorrow. We basically just need to kind of line it up and figure out where we're going to place the screws and try and pre-drill some of the holes. So we're going to use as much of the light as we've got as possible because tomorrow morning is going to be really, really hot again, and then it'll probably be another early start.
Let's just be crazy and slide it up and see what happens.
How are we going to slide it up?
I hope you don't mind if I say that I love you, 'cause there's so many ways that I want to carve out our names, board a last minute plane, just us two.
That was a really good end to the day. We mentioned about putting the kind of pilot holes and everything into the steel before putting it up, but we decided to just try lifting it and see how heavy it was, and how easy it was to actually get onto the top. And it was easier than we expected, actually. So I think we're just going to do all the pilot holes and everything in situ and make life a little bit easier for ourselves. Maybe that's not the right decision, I don't know. We'll see when we get to it tomorrow. Maybe it's way harder than we think. But yeah, really happy that that went on, and we're just on the way to kind of the other viewpoint of the land, just so that we can have a look at what it looks like. Good morning. We are already getting on with the next piece of the roof build. So we have just laid out 4 of the pieces of corrugated next to each other, just to see kind of where the little corrugations sit and how we can make sure that they have enough overlap but are also big enough. So we're only actually going to need to use 4 pieces. We thought we might need to use 5. When I calculated it yesterday, I was calculating with 2 overlaps, but we think we can just do 1 overlap and that will be fine. That gives us about 2 or 3 centimeters of leeway, and so we basically need to make sure that we're not using the little batten pieces here on the end. We're going to do the full 420 centimeters, and then we can always add another piece on to create the kind of little mini front porch and back porch if we want to, as a little overhang. The reason we can't do it now is because it's summer and we can't use the angle grinder, so we can't have all those kind of sparks going onto the land because it's very, very dry and it's a big fire risk.
It's a big fire risk, but it's also a really big fine.
So we're going to put these 4 pieces up, and we can always amend it in the future if we want to and add a little bit extra. So we're going to get on with that now. Okay, change of plan again. We weren't happy with the corrugated iron being on top of the wall directly. There was kind of, depending on how it fell, there was kind of a hole where rain or whatever else could get inside. So we're going back to the ends of the battens. But then this then meant that the corrugation or the peaks and troughs weren't sinking nicely with the beams. We're supposed to be drilling down through a peak, so the water's not, in there where the screw hole is. And those weren't lining up properly. So went to Google, magically found the answer. So the pieces of wood we put in yesterday are called purlins. And so what we're doing is we're going to screw into these rather than into the metal beams. So what we're doing now is we're fixing all these purlins into the beams that we put in yesterday. We twisted them in place. So we're just screwing those into place now. And then when we put the corrugated roof on top, we can have the corrugation overlap that we would like, really. And we can go across in a normal way, just screwing into the purlins at least 2 points. And then to get around the angle grinding issue, I was just reading, and I can get a jigsaw metal piece or I can get a circular saw blade that should be able to cut the corrugated iron without making sparks, in which case we can do it. We've got a plan, and we're just fixing all the purlins in place now, and then hopefully we get at least 1 sheet on before we go home. Just rewatched that video back, and I can promise you I'm not on a green screen. That is the actual view.
I hope you can hear every note that my heart sings, like a choir of bells, how they all ring. Oh, can't you tell, neath the timpani swells and heartstrings, there's a place deep in our hearts where it matters. We can stay.
That's all the end screws of the first piece now in. We chose to do them 8 inches apart because that was the maximum it said really should be okay, and there's still quite a lot of screws in one length, so I'm quite happy with that. And once again, we want to say thank you very much to Raven and Gareth for buying the DeWalt drills as a wedding gift, because not having to change between an impact driver and a drill bit is very, very useful and makes the job much quicker. So thanks again, guys.
We're all packed up and ready to drive back to Barcelona, and as Sod's Law dictates, of course, now it's cloudy and it would be the perfect weather to be getting on with a bit more of the roof. But despite the really, really hot sunny weather, we're really pleased with the amount that we got done this weekend, and next time we come down we know exactly what we're doing to be able to finish off the rest of those roof panels. But for now, this is where we're going to leave it. We're heading back to Barcelona and we'll see you on the next one.